Morning, everyone. Okay, I think we're ready to start
Morning.
this DRC meeting. The first item is going to be Woodside Park, a preliminary plan and forest conservation plan in the East County area. For information, the meeting is being recorded. Emily, whenever you're ready, go ahead.
Okay, thanks. Let me just pull up the plan. Okay, there we go. Okay, so this is a proposal for 17 lots at the corner of Georgia Avenue and Cedar View Court in Silver Spring. We had a number of comments on the plan, which you have. I think some of the most significant ones are about the full dedication. The plan is not showing the full required dedication here. We also have some concerns about the lack of guest parking and just the amount of units that are being fit on a very small site with the need to provide stormwater management and variance trees and hopefully some guest parking. Yeah, we're just hoping we can work with you on that to make sure everything fits on here appropriately. So with that, we're happy to answer any questions the applicant team has.
Thanks, Emily. Matt Gordon, land use attorney on behalf of the applicant. We're happy to continue working with staff. Just for background, the applicant and the property owner, I think we started working with staff like 15 months ago on this concept. We've worked through two different areas. We started with, I guess, West County or whatever it was called back then, and now we're on, this new group. And we actually started with like a lot more units than what we're showing right now. So we're pretty pinched in trying to figure out how to make this like feasible and economically viable with what we have. So we were a little bit disheartened by the comments on that because we don't really have a lot of wiggle room. But obviously we're gonna, we want to get this approved, so we're going to continue working with staff. I think on the first comment that we wanted to talk about was the stormwater management concept plan. And I know I saw the email that you sent from Andrew Kohler, and I'll let Pat LeVay speak to that. But I think we'll just try to set up a meeting with Andrew to talk about that and sort of explain some of the constraints and why we were requesting a waiver.
Yeah, I can give you guys a quick feedback, quick update on that too. I mean, I think if you look at this plan, what's happening with the grades is everything is sloping from bottom of page to north of page and right to left. So the sort of natural low point on the site is I guess it's labeled as Townhouse 1, or what would be Lot 1, the corner of Luzerne and St. George Avenue. And, there's not much room. And so we have stormwater planters on each house, but the alley, there's nowhere for the water to go to be managed because the alley is also encumbered fully by WSC easement. So the natural location to put a stormwater facility, if you were trying to manage the alley, which the alley is what the waiver request is for, would be right there at that corner. And so you end up losing a unit on the corner, if not more than one, and sort of exposing the alley to George Avenue. So it's kind of has a domino effect, not only losing a unit, but then sort of design. So that's why we were trying to keep the alley framed as much as possible there. But again, we'll have to work through that with Andrew and Mark and see, if any of that explanation works. But unfortunately, because the alley is so constrained with utility easements, we just can't put any kind of underground facilities there or anything like that. For what it's worth too, I did look at, could you break that stick on George Avenue? Because I'm guessing somebody might think about that and put something in the middle. But unfortunately, that still wouldn't get you out of the waiver request because you'd only be getting half of the water from the alley into it. You really have to get the whole alley into something to get away from that waiver request.
Thanks, Pat. And then on the comment about the utilities are not proposed to be undergrounded. This is something we've been talking about with staff for over a year. The sector plan is pretty clear that it's recommended for optional method projects. We're a standard method project. It's something we looked at. It's just there's no way that it's going to be feasible for the scale of what we're looking at. So just to clarify that point. And then on the right of ways, I guess on Luzerne and Cedar View, Pat and Brad from MHG, when they looked at it, we felt that we could fit all the elements that you'd be looking for with 50-foot right-of-ways. But I guess what we should have done was when we put in our application, there's a section in the subdivision regulations that allows the planning board to make a finding that, it meets all the standards, fire access, et cetera. If we're not providing the full recommended right of way. So I think when we resubmit, that's something that we can lay out for you. Because unfortunately, if we're required to go up to 60 feet on each right of way, we'll lose additional lots, which again is going to compromise whether this thing is even, viable in the first place.
Matt, just one point of clarification, as far as the recommended right of way widths go, I don't believe Cedar View or Luzerne, either one of those are in the master plan highway. So just in terms of like recommended, I think that the 60 feet request is sort of the typical minimum the county likes, but I mean, there are a lot of streets that are less than, even recommendations less than that.
Pat, this is Richard. That's a code requirement. I mean, it is a standard to have a 60-foot for a neighborhood street. So neighborhood streets are not in the master plan of highways and transitways, but they still have a requirement for 60 feet. Understand, I think we can take a look at what you're going to submit on the challenges of doing that, but that's where that's coming from.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, but again, we did like the complete streets section, I guess I would say, fits in what we have. So hopefully we can work through that.
And then Pat met with Sam Farhadi on the 5-foot PUE. I think our understanding was that the zone standard method and the CRN zone for these uses requires a 5-foot setback. So that's where I think the PUE was coming from. But I think DOT had a comment saying we don't need a PUE, but we're happy to, kind of figure that out. But that's sort of why we showed the 5-foot PUE.
Yeah, the just to add on to that, I think I always personally struggle with this of like when to and when not to include a PUE. I think they're not great for urban design if we can avoid them. But like Matt said, when I met with Sam, he said, well, the typical position is if you're required to have a setback, then give that setback as PUE if it's less than 10 feet. And because it's a townhouse use, there's a 5-foot setback. So we're happy to get rid of the PUE. We just need a little bit of direction on that. And we can email folks to follow up if needed.
Yeah, Pat and Matt, this is Natasha from Urban Design Group. So Pat, again, like you said, doesn't work out as far as urban design. We are fine with the 5-foot setback, but having a PUE is kind of limits you with what type of landscaping you can put there. So we thought like it would be nice if these townhomes have some sort of front yard. Again, lush bushes and maybe ornamental trees. So that's why our recommendation was not to allocate that 5-foot as a PUE. And I think Sam also agreed within our internal meeting. So that's where we are standing.
Okay. Well, we're happy to give it up. So.
Thank you.
Okay. And then Pat, do you want we received a comment about the driveways to the units themselves being 10 feet. I think that was essentially we needed that much space for fire access anyway. So I don't know that.
Yeah, it's twofold. It's and I understand where the comment comes from, having worked through this on several projects recently. There's two issues in this case. One is that we do need to allow these units to be taller than 3 stories. We need to provide a fire lane down that alley, and therefore we need 10 feet on both sides. And in addition to that, and technically you could probably get around that by having the fire access lane only serve the lots to the east, but more importantly, WSSC, because we have water and sewer in that alley, is going to insist on a 40-foot building separation. And we just went through this on the Geico project, and they did not budge on that. So the 40 feet requirement holds. So you can make the driveway shorter, but then you got a wider alley, more paving, probably, it just seems like it'd be better to have the 10-foot driveways because you can get a little landscape strip in between the units.
And I guess that I was just looking at the comments. I think that might have tied into the visitor parking comment we received from DOT. I mean, I think our intent was we're meeting the zoning ordinance requirements for the parking. And I don't know, Pat can explain how it would work, but I don't know that there's a whole lot of other opportunities beyond what we're showing for parking.
Yeah, well, this is just in with planning. I'll let MCDOT speak after me. I know that parking is a big issue, you know, with this type of like communities coming in, you know, and townhome developments coming in. Residents start to complain that they don't have enough parking, or residents that have been living there, you know, start to complain that people are parking in front of their houses, or they're obstructing the, you know, the road itself. In this case, we've seen that along Cedarview Court and along Lucerne Avenue, a lot of cars are parked right now, and we're concerned that that's gonna be you know, it's gonna become the norm once this townhome development comes in. It's gonna obstruct, you know, not only people, residents living there trying to get in and out, but also fire access and other services from the county. And so that's why that's where this comment is coming from, and that's why we're asking you to see if there's a way to actually provide a little bit more parking for visitors in this development.
Yeah, I have to check. I think when we went to the community meeting, that was one of the questions that came up, and I could be wrong, but I thought there was a residential permit parking area once you get into the neighborhood, so that it sort of precludes people from parking there anyway. If they, you know,
That's Rebecca. That doesn't help the townhouses and the existing residences, because anybody in there can get a residential parking permit. So permit parking is not going to help the parking situation on the streets. So
I mean, like they wouldn't, I don't think these are eligible for the single family parking. But anyway, we can look at that and see what we can come up with to address that. Justine, I hear you. We get that in every jurisdiction with townhouses in these areas, that the concern from planners and the, you know, local governments about accommodating the needs of guests of these infill sites. And then Pat, the one, I guess, I don't know if Wayne Miller's on, but there was a comment about a bus shelter on Georgia Avenue. I think it's just a WMATA. We think it just serves a WMATA bus today. But I don't know that we have room to fit a shelter is something, but we can meet with Wayne and talk to him about it and figure out exactly what he's looking for.
Yeah, I don't know if Rebecca or Richard, do you guys know if that's also a ride-on stop, or?
it doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. We asked for a bus shelter, I think.
No,
I think Wayne speaks for WMATA as well. So.
Okay. Yeah, I just meant, I mean, if we have to work with obviously whoever stop it is, we typically would work with them as far as locating, adjusting, moving, et cetera. So I guess if Wayne's still involved, then we can just reach out to him.
And just a note, I mean, there is a 90% design for this section of road from SHA. So Justine's comment mentioned that, but I think you do need to coordinate with that project manager to make sure that this doesn't change any of their plans.
We were aware. That's what we were going to do, is reach out to, because we know that they're doing work. They've been all up and down Georgia working with property owners. I know they're acquiring easements and things like that. So we can reach out to them.
Matt and Pat, can you please include me in those conversations, just to be in the loop and also, in any case, facilitate the conversation?
Sure.
Matt, do we have a contact there, or do we need to ask this team?
I can look it up. I think Matt.
But I send it over via the ePlans comment, but I can also send it over after this via email.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
I think that's all we had, unless there's anything Fike has. But I guess I saw, Emily, the schedule, so we'll coordinate with you and try to clean up the plans and address as many of these comments as we can, and resubmit by, I think it was August 26th. And then, you know, we're happy to, you know, continue meeting after that if there's still issues that we need to resolve.
Okay, yeah, and I understand the stormwater concept plan hasn't actually been submitted, so we'll need to get that in as soon as possible.
Okay. I think that's all we have.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
Thank
everybody. Thank you very much.
Great.
I will open the floor for you if you have any questions.
So Steve Robbins with Berkshire Land Brewer. Nice to see everyone this morning. I'll let these two introduce themselves. Megan, if you want to.
Megan Easley with Pulte.
Good morning with Micah. And we have some folks online, I believe, that will be chiming in if necessary. So thank you for the comments, and Neil, thank you for getting them to us early. We appreciate that. It gives us time to go over them. There's some comments that we want to talk about today. There's others that we think would be best to set up maybe a follow-up meeting. Richard, transportation with maybe you and DOT to discuss the median, and also we've got some more thoughts about the private road that we've worked on for a relatively long time that goes from Montrose Road back through the site on the eastern part of the site. So we and also the other thing I believe, Mike, is we want to set up a meeting with, is Marie online? Yeah, see, hey Marie.
Hey, sorry, I had to find the mute button. I'm here.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, Mike, we were talking yesterday, and we think would be best maybe to go through the comments in a separate form, all the fire-related comments that we can go through with you. So, if we can get something set up, that would be great.
Yeah, I'll send an email to you, Marie, following up directly with you. I don't think there was anything significant. Just want to make sure we get it right.
Great. So there are some issues that we think we would like to bring up, just some housekeeping items. The noise analysis was submitted. I believe you received an email to that effect. As far as there was a comment about environmental sustainability as it relates to the master plan, we'll be addressing that in our SOJ and how we're meeting that. As far as traffic is concerned, we will want to talk about the median versus the flex posting. We understand where you're coming from. You may want to.
Yeah, so we knew this was like an integral part of the application. And so we did try to get ahead of it in the process since this is such an expedited review. And so I think we have been meeting with MCDOT prior to submitting the ASP. And so their comments kind of came in as we were submitting. And so we do know that the easternmost entrance is going to be just a right in, right out. And I think we still just need to kind of work together with you guys to determine the way to kind of
the configuration of whether how that will play out. So we'll get into that I think as part of another meeting, and that also will relate to the private road that goes from Montrose all the way back to the development that's behind us. We actually did spend a lot of time on that. We as far as even through the concept plan got comments on that. We did some adjustment to that to provide the sidewalk. I know there's some there was a comment regarding how much of a buffer there would be. But in general, we think we've met the spirit and intent of what we're trying to do here, and done about candidly about as much as we can do there to make that happen. We hope that will be acceptable to you.
Yeah, I think so far, especially the private road is getting closer to what we're expecting. I think the things that we are hoping to see in the next round of submissions are the details like the cross section, the road grid plans, and also truncation. I know that that's something that, especially within the public frontage of Montrose Road, we would like to see a 25-foot truncation. If it's not achievable, you can also submit a waiver on the SOJ.
I think right now our thought is we are looking for a waiver for that.
Okay. I mean, it is something, some of them, the buildings are intruding and it would kind of be problematic. It could be possible we could still do a reduced truncation.
Sure.
I mean, is that something that would be valuable to you? Like if we can do 10 feet, still do it or don't bother?
Just so I'm understanding, where are we talking at the intersection with the public road, or are we talking internal?
Now it's representing the public.
Yeah, so I think we'd want to talk with DOT, but I think we're open to
we'll
Just
just put that on the
transportation,
agenda
coordinate with
as
DOT.
what we think we can achieve there.
Okay. Right, so it's good to hear that with the private road, because we really did give that a lot of attention. And it has evolved significantly from where we were at the concept plan. So it's good to hear that we're close to getting sign off on that. As far as there are some other comments that we just need some clarification. There was a comment 32, that mentioned some additional dedication. I don't know, Mike, if you worked through that or not yet, or you were just confused.
I mean, some of it, I'm not sure if it's just stating that dedication is needed. We did show some dedication. We just want to make sure there's not further dedication that's going to be needed. We're
Those
giving.
our comments or those DOT?
32 would have been
Brenda, part of transportation.
DOT.
I don't think we see a need for additional dedication.
Yeah.
Talk about 1B, right away.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1B.
Yeah, hi, this is Brenda. Yeah, that's just probably bringing in still from a concept. If you're showing what it's supposed to be, then we're okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, Brenda.
Yeah, we're showing 40 feet from the center line, which with the 80-foot right away, I feel like we're in a good position. Okay, great. And then Steve, another one of Brenda's comments was her number 10, which was a note to follow the Rock Spring and White Flint 2 urban design guidelines, and that local standards and guidelines may override complete streets. And I just wanted to understand if there was something you saw there, Brenda, that we need to implement, or this is just you letting us know that,
Yeah, just to know, but I know that the side path, for example, that you should provide that in asphalt.
Okay, yeah, I think we're okay with that. We were showing it as concrete, but I don't think we have an issue with doing asphalt. Obviously, the any kind of ramping is going to be concrete, but we'll do the rest in asphalt.
Since we're on the topic of ramping, if you can maybe update at least what was in the corner on that cross section on the western entrance. It may just be like a mistake in the detail, but we do want to make sure that the crosswalks are a little more flushed out and they are fully to one another. This is the way that they're kind of outlined there. It seems like they're kind of like within a very steep distance from what they should be. So if we can just get a little bit more detail on how those curb ramps work out for very direct crossing, that would be beneficial for both ADA compliant and also for the continuation of the side path.
So you're saying on the western entrance?
Yeah, it just seems like the curb ramps are a little bit separated from the actual curb.
Yeah, we set that up as a landing. We ramp down and get to the landing to cross over.
Yeah.
Instead of the traditional where you ramp down to the curb.
Got it.
It's just with the sidewalks going north, they're just very close to that ramp. And so then because they're coming in, they would come in into that ramp that's associated with the side path. And of course, that's got to be level. So this was the solution we proposed. I think what you're saying though is that you want to see if the road grade can't ramp up.
Correct.
To the sidewalk grade.
Correct.
So that we don't have ramps at all, right?
Well, what I like to see is actually like a direct leveling, so that, for example, like there is a direct path for somebody on a wheelchair to be able to cross that crosswalk. So if possible, again, just to make sure that it's leveled completely and flush between both captures of the curb ramps.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm saying as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. The eastern one might be a little bit trickier just because there's not much room to maneuver before we got to tie back into existing. I don't think we showed that as well as we could have. So we're gonna show a temporary transition to the existing, because that's on the face of the curb. But we're gonna build as much of that side path as we can on the eastern property line.
What else did you want to bring up?
Sorry, I guess I took over.
Do the PUE.
The one other comment was the layout for the bikes in the garage. So that is part of the
CRR.
what's that?
The CRR.
Yeah, the CRR submission. So it's in there. I don't know if you've had a chance to pull that. Oh, actually, it's not. It's just sitting there. That's right. Given the time and constraints, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not accepted yet. I get it.
You want
Again,
to send it to you though?
That would be great, actually. It will also help us be able to adequate review and, avoid having to do like a revision at this.
Okay, so we can do that.
Send it to you.
We can do that. I forgot about that there are these
We're still out there.
weird time constraints associated with that.
And,
Okay.
and if I recall correctly, the bike rooms are within the garage, so they are secure. I don't think we have them in a separate room or anything like that though, but they are secured in the garage. That is a controlled entry.
Perfect. Again, we just need to see like the details to correct comments.
Thank you. Okay.
PUE.
Yeah, sure. So for the PUE, we're showing a 5-foot PUE on the front, and there was a comment about doing a no PUE or a 10-foot PUE. We did some initial coordination with the utility companies, and they came back and they said a 5-foot PUE is adequate.
I think that was a comment by design, I believe, so.
Design wanted 0, traffic wanted 5.
Right.
Yes, this is Natasha from the urban design team. So if it's possible not to have the PUE, that will help you having more like a lush landscaping and like a better front for condo building fronting into Monterey. So that comments come from there. And I think we coordinate that with DPS and DOT. So if it's possible not to have a PUE, because if you have a PUE, then the only thing you can put there is grass, and that's not gonna look nice on the frontage.
But I think it really does come down to what the utility company is going to accept in terms of service. So if they don't need it, then I think that comment stands. If 5 feet is what they're asking for to provide the service, then you'll probably have to accommodate that.
So it would be fair to say that county staff does not want a PUE if the utility company can accommodate it. And if they come back and they say, we need 5 feet, 10 feet, whatever, then we'll do our best to
No,
accommodate.
this is Rebecca from DOT. You are a 0 lot line clearance, right?
This is CR, yeah.
So it's a 0 lot line. So when 0 lot line, generally DOT does not require a PUE, is provided that the utilities are already within the existing right of way. If you have current utilities that you're not moving and they are not in right of way, they have to be in an easement.
There's not really any overhead utilities along our frontage. And we're not necessarily proposing to put anything in that PUE. So Rebecca, are you answering the question for us saying we don't need a PUE?
No, I'm saying those are the guidelines, and then you can make a with your utility plan, you should be showing where the utilities existing and proposed are so that we understand if they fit within that area, within the right of way, or you need a PUE.
So if we're not showing any utilities in the 5-foot PUE, we would be able to propose elimination of it.
If there are no utilities, either existing or proposed.
That's right.
So it's not, I mean, you might not show them, but they might be there. So that's the only issue. So
I think the utility companies wanted it for the possibility of future use. And if that's the case, we wouldn't be obligated to provide it.
No, you should. I mean, you should ask them if they need it, then you need to provide it to them. Like they have to say yes or no.
Got it.
Rebecca, if you don't mind, can I jump in? This is Atik from DPS.
Sure.
Yes, if it's a 0 lot line, you are not obligated to provide PUE. But Mike, can you tell me who the utility companies are that are asking for the PUE?
I don't have that information with me. Our dry utility engineer was the one coordinating that. I can look into it and provide a little bit more detail if that'll be helpful to you.
Like I said, if you want to provide PUE, it's not going to hurt our feelings, but you're not under obligation to provide it if it's a zero lot. You can put the utilities within the public right of way. But Rebecca is right. We would like to see, if you have any proposed utilities, we would like to see be color coded into where they are going to be, and if there's any need for additional space for them, so we can determine it at this point.
Okay. All right. Well, I think I understand, and we'll review it in a little bit more detail and provide a response in our resubmission.
Okay.
Anything else, Mike?
I think it was just the forest conservation.
Right.
There was a note about saving tree 51 on the adjacent property. We were really close to the threshold about whether or not it gets tipped over for removal or not. We don't want to remove somebody else's tree. What I think we'd like to do is just have it be something that if we can't hit the 35% threshold, then we'll show it as removed. We'll provide the mitigation trees, but we won't actually remove it. If that's acceptable, because
Wally should be on the line. He's over earlier. Here we go.
Hi, thanks, Mike. I definitely understand what you're saying, that you wanna, if it comes to it in the field where it can't be saved, it's better to get that variance removal approved ahead of time. But we do have the general rule where if there's 30% critical root zone impact, we, normally go for removal. But since there is existing pavement where some of that, critical root zone is, we think it can hopefully be saved as well. If you get, an arborist to review and see what they recommend with construction. So hopefully maybe a combination of an arborist to review the tree, see what you can do during and before construction to save it, and then still request to remove it, but make a note with the intent to save. And then if it comes to it in the field, you can save it, then the inspector can remove the mitigation requirements for that tree.
okay. All right, that makes sense. So we'll for the forest conservation plan, we'll show root pruning along that limits of disturbance where it impacts the CRZ, and we'll add a note that an arborist needs to review it prior to construction, and that we're considering it removed, providing the replacement trees. We're getting the variance, but we're not going to actually remove it until the arborist reviews it and makes a determination.
Yeah, and I think if you could get an arborist report on it now and have that included as part of the plan set, just like looking ahead. So, if they're going to recommend some type of approach to construction that's different than what's on the plans, you don't want to come to the pre-construction meeting and then be told different recommendations. So if you could get that done ahead of time, I think that would be very helpful.
Okay. We'll see what we can do. At the very least, maybe we can get them to go out in the field and review the tree and provide a memo or something to the file that can help provide guidance.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
And I think comment 11 might talk about the filing the request for variance.
Yeah, I guess I couldn't see that we included it. I guess you're saying that we needed one. I assume that it was going to be part of the CRR as well, but we'll make sure to include it in the resubmission.
Yeah, that sounds good. It definitely has to be part of the forest conservation plan, just since that's a requirement, separate from the CRR needs to be on the forest conservation plan. But yeah, that sounds good. We'll see it in the resubmission.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
I think there was just one other comment, since I think we have a little bit more time. Camille, you had noted that there was a WSSC sewer easement that's on a lot at the northeast corner of the site. About 13. Yeah, I don't think that's an issue to have it beyond the lot. We are meeting the setback requirements between the sewer and the building of 15 feet.
I just wanted to flag that because it's such a small area, but it kind of went on the lot and there wasn't an associated area with that little corner that it kind of chops off. So just wanted to make sure it's intentional, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it really is just a byproduct of the easement that exists and the lotting layout. We certainly could kind of truncate that corner a little bit more. But that might be even more awkward for the property owner.
Right. Maybe if that's then the case, I'll just go back and see if we need to do anything about it. It's such a small area that's probably inconsequential. But for lotting purposes, I just have to see if that's something that's okay.
Okay. Great, thank you.
That all you had, Mike?
Yeah, I think so.
Give one last look. I guess while he's looking, can we talk schedule? So you can tell us what we need, when the resubmission is due, and
You just pull that up.
Take this meeting today.
So for the dates that we have, the first submittal would need to be received by August 26th.
say that again.
For the dates that we currently have with the projected board date of October 15th, the first resubmission would need to get into us by
August 26th.
Yes.
But yes.
And that's the final submittal would be on September 14th. So that's kind of a short turnaround. So any kind of coordination that we can do, push forward to now, you know, set up our meetings early on and make sure we can hash the issues out. That would be great.
And it's our understanding that the CRR be accepted earlier than August 21st.
That's right.
Yeah. And then that September 15th final submission of the ASP would also be the resubmission of the CRR. Or do those get offset?
Sure. I can check on that for you.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it would make sense if they were like at the same time.
I'll have to check on that for you. Off the top of my head, I don't have the answer.
Yeah, because I think the resubmittal dates for 120-day plans are 65 days or 60 days, which is pretty much the entirety of the CRO review. So it's probably a different date.
Yeah.
Unless your plans are perfect.
Sorry, which date are we talking about is likely gonna?
For the, I guess your question was for the CRR.
Yeah, the September 15th final submission of the ASP matches up with the CRR resubmission date. Just so that, you know, we have one set of documents, one set of comments and all that.
Right, because CRR plan will need to, the two plans will need to match each other on some of these things that we're talking about.
I don't think there's anything preventing you. I think we just need to double check what the code says in terms of the final submittal date. I don't think it's your final submittal date, but I think if you wanted to, it would make sense for you to submit it all at once, Wednesday or so. If you're not accepted until, what date did you say?
21st.
It's the 21st of this month, so that puts your DRC like the beginning of September.
Right.
So then a September.
So it's probably, yeah, it's probably not your final submission, but I think you could do a submission for the CRR. Would make sense. But Kimmy will follow me.
So that, what we talked about today, all these comments, this submission is due on the 26th, 8/26. So this, when we resubmit, that's going to be somewhat different than what's being what's being accepted for review on the CR. Because you're taking that on the 21st, right? I mean, it's already sitting there, and then it's gonna be accepted actually on the 21st.
It already gone through intake and it's just waiting.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the way that this thing works, so that they
I mean,
can
if you,
catch up.
yeah, I mean, you could probably pick up the, other than the comments. You could pick up on the CRR, the comments that you're updating for the forest conservation and admin, so probably makes.
And we don't want to delay acceptance and intake, but we could probably, when we feel comfortable, when we have the submission on the 26th, if there's a way to either catch up with this, catch the CRR plan up with those changes so that.
I mean, once it's accepted, it's on the 21st.
Well, and then the challenge from the DRC perspective is that the drawings that you submitted are gonna go out. And so the reviewing agencies are gonna look at the one you've already got loaded. And so, I mean, those review agencies are all here. So you'll probably get some of the same
Comments, and we'll say, we're doing this. Right. I got it.
I mean, is it possible to upload the revised drawings before it gets accepted on the 21st? So then when it goes out, we're seeing
Same.
that the same?
I can't speak for VICA. I think it depends on when these meetings are and what's accomplished at the meetings.
I agree. I think.
So, I mean, we have the interagency work session next week on the 18th, which we could also use for some of these meetings.
I think the biggest one's DOT.
Yeah.
I mean, they have that whole, so I would suggest it's.
Yep.
Between 9:30 and noon on Tuesday, the 18th.
Yeah.
And we can coordinate with Kashil on that.
Okay. I guess it really would just depend on our success in resolution at that meeting, so that we could resubmit a few days later.
If not, we'll keep moving and we'll update them.
Bumpy.
Update when it's ready.
Yeah, I think we're all kind of used to bumpy right now.
So Mike, you're gonna schedule the meetings with.
You can send me your availability, then we'll send it to Kashil to send you guys an invite.
Richard, you said what, between what?
But the holds that DOT and we have is between 9:30 and noon, so sometime between them.
Typically, we set aside an hour. So if you want to pick an hour between the 9:30 and 12, let us know, and then we'll coordinate that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely need Garove slate on that too. So we'll get back to you with the timing. We go through you. We'll send it to you.
Yes, you can send it to me, then we'll get it scheduled.
Actually, I heard 9:14 and 9:15 for final submittal, so which one is the?
So 9:15 for final submittal for this administrative subdivision.
Great.
That's it. Well, thank you all. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Item number 3 and last item for today's DRC. Friendship Parcel 210, Rituals Catering. It's a preliminary plan amendment and the site plan in the West County area. And for information, the meeting will be recorded. Adam, go ahead when you're ready.
Thanks, Neil. So we have Chris Rulin and another member of the applicant's team here this morning with us, and I see a number of you online as well. Good morning. Comments for these two applications went out last Friday, and I think there were really two sort of key issues that were flagged to discuss. The first one had to do with parking and loading, just really clarifying how the proposal meets the current requirements. Specifically really focusing on the off-site parking and what may need to be done with the existing off-site parking agreement to kind of bring this proposal up to where it needs to be with that. Second set of comments had to do with environmental items, really looking at opportunities to increase stormwater management and tree planting on the property. So with that, I will turn it over to the applicant's team to ask any questions they have of staff.
Great, thanks. I'll be brief with this. I'm Chris Rulin with Lord Julian Brewer, and with me is Trinard Hodge with Ridgewells. I see online some members of our team. I see Susan Laz of Ridgewells right there raising her hand, Samantha Maserly with Gensler, and Kyle Hughes with McCrease Hendricks Glasscock. I also see Carl Smelter with Gensler. So many folks from our team online. Just to provide a quick summary, some of you may recall that we were here really approximately a year ago in September 2025. Ridgewells received preliminary plan approval for the site. That plan application was intended to consolidate the property into a single record lot so that they can replace the existing catering facility that's on Dorsey Lane that they've been using for many, many years. And the preliminary plan also had a subdivision regulations waiver request from for private roadway construction and plating requirements that was approved by the board, and that was for both Dorsey Lane and Clipper Lane to really allow the continued use of those private streets. They have sort of a long and tortured history and are sort of an unusual characteristic, but all of that was documented back with the preceding preliminary plan. I know there were some comments about the private roads and what's going on there. We're happy to kind of dust off the paperwork to go through all of that with transportation staff, if that'd be helpful. Since the time of that approval, Ridgewells has had continued business success really, and has refined its plans for this replacement building. They determined that while they have the opportunity to sort of get a redo on what exists out there, it makes sense to also include a modest expansion of the upper story space. What that does with this application, if you recall, the preceding preliminary plan was under the former zoning ordinance and below the threshold where it would be a current IM zone project, and it went forward under the standards of the I1 zone. So by increasing the building with the upper level addition, it's going to put these applications right into the current zoning ordinance, and it's going to be processed under the IM zone standards. So our team has been working on a plan that meets those standards, and that's really what we're here to talk about today. I think we do have a couple of questions that we want to, and clarifications that we want to quickly hit on, but we have reviewed the comments and they mostly make sense. I think our diagnosis was that we wanted to get right into our response submission. On the issue of the offsite parking, the preceding preliminary plan had a condition to enter into an offsite parking agreement to address the parking requirements for the building. And that agreement was already recorded. It addresses 18 offsite parking spaces that Ridgewells has under its control in other areas of Dorsey Lane that are in addition to the spaces that were proposed for the replacement building. That agreement will need to be amended in connection with this, with the upper level space. While it's really, warehouse space and some amenity space for employees, it affects the parking requirements. And so to address those, we'll amend the offsite agreement Richwell's positively has other spaces that are under its control that it uses for its operations. So we've got the ability to identify those and amend the agreement. That's how that will be treated. I know, Adam, you had a question about the zoning standards for that. You know, the offsite area is beyond the boundaries of the site plan. And so it's not proposed to be changed with this application. And I think that's pretty typical for properties that use offsite parking. But in this case, it's also an existing site design under 7.7. And so I think that's where we can explain all of that when we do our response submission. I think some of the things that we wanted to talk about for our team online, I think we wanted to maybe start with the comment about the roof panel. And so Kyle and Samantha, you might be the ones to ask those questions.
Yeah, so we'll review our computations and the green roof that we selected to make sure it's providing 8 inches of treatment, or that it's matching the 8-inch typical section. Typically these green roofs that we spec, they're more effective at holding water, and so they're able to meet the 8-inch media requirement with a section that's 4 inches thick. So I want to just go through and see if that's what's causing this comment, and just make sure that we're providing the full 8-inch requirement and maxing out all the space we can on the roof. So
Yeah.
we'll advise on that.
Right, this is Marco Fuster with the Environment and Climate. So few things to start. The master plan has recommendations to achieve the stormwater on site. The previous stormwater management concept approval letter had 8-inch thick green roof, and then the current one has the 4-inch, and I believe includes a partial waiver. So the idea of the comment was that, furthermore, the current updated stormwater management approval letter asks to please explore ways to maximize the green roof. So along with that, plus the recommendations of the master plan, we'd like you to do just that, look at ways of either increasing the depth and or footprint of the green roof to achieve as much as possible on site without a waiver.
Are you more interested in meeting the stormwater requirements or that 8-inch thickness?
Well, the
or at least providing as much stormwater as possible.
Yeah,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Because I just want to make sure, like, whatever green roof we select is what you have in mind. Like, there's some options that are they still provide all the storage necessary for an 8-inch thick section, but it might be like 4 inches or 6 inches. So it can hold all the requirements with a 4-inch section. If we can demonstrate that, are you okay with that, or are you just wanting the 8-inch section no matter what?
Well, curious if, I guess with that special media, whatever it is you're using that can hold a 8-inch capacity and 4-inch, what if you use that same media at 8-inch depth? Would you potentially not need a waiver at that point and capture more stormwater?
Well, the maximum the green roofs can handle is an 8-inch media section. So we won't be able to, that's the maximum stormwater storage it can obtain.
Okay, yeah, but again, the current letter says you're going with 4 rather than 8.
Yeah.
This is Andrew Core with MCDPS Water Resources. Marco, we could talk about that, I think, at a different point. They're getting the max they can get with that. Thanks.
Okay, yeah, I don't think we're gonna be able to fully resolve anything now, but you know, just as the letter says, you know, we'd like you to in agreement with the DPS letter, you know, would like, and along with the master plan recommendation, like you to explore whatever you can do to maximize the footprint and or depth or treatment. And then I forget the precise wording of this master plan, but a lot of master plans do recognize that the green roof has other benefits beyond just stormwater, which might lead to exploring ways to increase the footprint. But I think that's about as far as we can get right now, I would think.
Samantha from Gensler. Mark, I just wanted to add, I know this civil plan probably doesn't show it, but on the architectural roof plan, we have maximized the green roof as much as possible to meet the requirements. And basically any openness of roof we have is basically a green roof. So we have looked at that. And also there's always a structural component to that, but we have considered that and done what we could to maximize it.
Then another thought, if I think it's just green roof, what if, say on the front of the building, you're able to put, say, a planter box against the building that might capture some of the runoff from the roof?
It just limits our amenity green space requirement. So that's kind of what we're fighting up against, but we do have some planters included in the amenity green space. And then we have done planters in with the 11 parking spaces on the front of the building as well. But again, trying to meet all the requirements with the parking as well, so.
Yeah, and that whole, because it's an amenity space, it's all like glass panels on that front edge of the building. So I guess it's, yeah, I don't know. You want to scroll down, Samantha, or whoever's controlling?
I'll scroll it down for you.
Yeah, you can kind of, yeah, I guess you can see it a little bit there. So there's a lot of windows. So
Anything else on the green roof?
And
what else do you have?
Well, I'm sorry, it may help for in the next submission if you elaborate the I don't know, justifications for the current layout. That might help for the, anyway, yeah, if you can do that, that would help for say the staff report.
okay. Yep. Yeah, and we're also providing the architectural plans will show like green roof planters for that amenity space. You can kind of see that at that bottom middle image there. But yeah, we'll be sure to provide a response to that. Anything else, Chris, you want us to cover?
No, Marco, I know that you have another comment about tree canopy recommendations in the sector plan, and so that's something that we'll take a look at. But obviously, the opportunity to do anything in that front area is pretty limited for some of the reasons we were just talking about, balancing kind of the parking with amenity space, with stormwater, et cetera. So we'll take a look at that and see what might be possible, but it's a very tight space.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah, sure. Realize there are limited opportunities. But one thing you might explore would be, say, in the off-site parking at the upper right of the image, there's a few striped areas or areas that are paved but cannot be parked in. There may be potential to, open up a section of paving to put of currently unused paving to add a tree or two here or there. Just something to look into. And then, anyway.
That's a good suggestion. Yeah, I think we could do that for the most part. Especially that there's one chunk that's kind of goes into the common access area where we wouldn't be able to do that. That right stripe, the right further to the right striped area. But the left one, we could probably add a tree there. Yeah, right there. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, if you could you sweep through and have a look and see where you might be able to add some trees here and there.
I think that's it. All right, if there's no other questions or comments. So our schedule moving forward, applicant's first resubmission is going to be due August 26th. You'll receive review comments from us and from the public agencies September 8th. Your final submission is due September 15th. Agency letters are due to be issued October 6th. Our staff report scheduled to publish online November 9th, and that is all ahead of a November 19th planning board hearing date.
Did SOJ, so there was a cast of folks from the neighboring apartment building who came at preliminary plan, and I seem to recall the board sort of asking Ridgewell's to sort of maintain a dialogue with that. Did the SOJ have discussions about efforts undertaken to that end?
A little bit, but we have been in dialogue with them. We recently had our, our pre-submission meeting, so we had another chance to reconvene with all of those folks. Some of the issues, are still top of mind, I think, for them. But Ridgewell's has been doing what it can, and I know has had some even subsequent meetings to the community meeting with them.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're doing is fine, and the board may not remember.
Yeah.
But I think you should be prepared to talk about, since last September, we've attempted to reach out to have the dialogue with the neighbors. They took us up, they didn't take us up, but I think you want to be able to discuss that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they've been great, actually. Susan actually walked around the property and, everything's been pretty calm since then, so.
Good. Excellent, great. All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.